This episode of Nerd and Tie is sponsored by Paul Langland. You can sponsor Nerd and Tie if you want by going to nerdandtie.com and clicking on the sponsor information. Or you can always help us with our GoFundMe campaign at gofundme.com/nerdandtie and help pay for our legal fund. But either way, this episode again was sponsored by Paul Langland. From Langland, the langest of all the lands.
On this fortnight's edition of Nerd and Tie, we bid farewell to both Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds, and then we look at the best and worst of 2016. Movies, TV, stuff from Japan, video games, comics, and much, much more. It is Nerd and Tie.
Woo!
Woo! Garbage Fire year is over.
Our long national nightmare is done.
Yes. Dear Lord, that was that was a thing that happened to all of us, and that
was a bad year.
But I'm going to tell you guys something. 2017 is going to be worse.
Yeah, I believe that.
Well, okay,
statistically,
so I think what I've been telling a lot of people that say well, there's still 2017 could be worse. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, but I feel like a lot of what I tell them is I feel like a lot of 2016 was just kind of thrust on us and said okay, you get to deal with this now. 2017 is that time period where we're all right, we've seen what we're up against. Now it's time to fight back.
No, it's right now. We're recording this. We're going to release this on the 3rd of January, but right now it's the 2nd of January that we're recording this, and so we get 18 days of good 2017, and then we go back to garbage fire. That's how it works out.
Realistically speak.
But we got a lot of we haven't introduced ourselves, have we?
No, we really haven't.
Nope, I'm sorry about that. Here I am in my basement of doom with my old buddy Komunga the Giant Spider. I'm Nick Izumi. And for you guys viewing, immediately to my left, wearing a bandana that surely keeps enormous spiders named Komunga away, is the one and only Trey Dorn.
I did kill a wolf spider in my apartment on New Year's Eve. It was probably about that big.
He was there for the party, you monster.
Take
he
that,
wanted to
arachnids!
ring New Year's with you, and you killed him.
The wolf.
Well, that was a mistake on his part.
Defending arachnid rights is Professor Pher.
8 legs is 6 more legs to hug you with than you normally have.
New Year's Eve in New Year's Eve in my household is Trey and Krista watching Travelers and Voltron interchangeably, back and forth, and then watching the ball drop for the last half hour of that coverage, and then going back to So I'm finally watching Voltron, the remake. And
good.
Yes. And but I'm watching that, and just finished watching earlier today Travelers. It's a Canadian show, but Netflix picked up the rights for U.S. distribution, and it's good Canadian science fiction.
Netflix is still my favorite TV station.
Yeah, no, it's a network. But Nick, before we get into the fun part of this show, we should probably get through the not fun.
Yeah, and this is in the last couple throws after Christmas, we had a kind of a double whammy. Or really just before Christmas, we had we heard that Carrie Fisher, beloved actress from Star Wars, you all know her as Princess Leia, but I mean, she was a phenomenal writer and a very, very funny woman and outspoken advocate of mental health awareness. Carrie Fisher had a heart attack, and only a few days later, she passed away, much the mourning of pretty much every decent human being, dare I say. And only a couple days afterward,
it was the next day.
Yeah, the very next day, because the story just keeps getting worse. Debbie Reynolds Fisher's mother, beloved actress from such films as Singing in the Rain. And also, if we're going to go for some of her more nerdy credits, she was in the dub of Kiki's Delivery Service, in addition to, of course, the classic Charlotte's Web. Debbie Reynolds also passed away. What an awful just double downer of both daughter and mother in 2 days. Just
Reynolds' last words repeatedly were, "I miss Carrie."
I kind of figured.
Yeah.
There's science behind people dying of a broken heart. It's happened.
Well, and yeah, it's
Fisher
it
was only
sucks.
60 for that matter.
Oh,
like,
I know.
That's by today's standards, that's not old. That's
right. That's younger than my parents.
Yet at 60, I mean, she lived a very, very, very full life. I think one of my favorite, aside from the fact like all these great stories you hear about her, is the obituary going around where she talks about George Lucas telling her that she wasn't going to be able to wear a bra under the Leia dress, and she goes, "Why not?" And he goes, "Well, it's because you're in space. You're gonna get strangled, etc." And so, just I love the line of her saying in that interview. She said, "So if when I die, no matter what the cause, put in my obituary that I died strangled by my own bra, bathed in or drowning in moonlight."
Yeah, it's not an interview. It's from Wishful Drinking.
That's what it was. Yes.
Yeah.
Good book.
Yeah, it's that's why that was the drowned in moonlight, strangled by her own bra was the obituary in many, many places, including the one we wrote at Nerd and Tie.
Did you have you guys ever looked at how many movie scripts she punched up?
Oh,
Because she had a prolific, like, ridiculous number of films that she punched up the scripts on.
Oh yeah, no, it's really kind of amazing. A lot of people didn't know that she was a script doctor. Yeah.
Well, it's because she never got credit for them. There are very few films she actually got
people
credit
who do
to.
that, people who do that almost never get credit for it. It's yeah.
And which is, and I mean, it's just all of her work, and of course her books. Yeah, Wishful Drinking, Postcards from the Edge, very, very good.
Her character on 30 Rock.
She her sense of comedy was stonking amazing. Also, she loved her dog, and that deserves credit anywhere, frankly.
Well, yeah, Gary was her service animal too. I mean, it's.
I think like one of my favorite later Carrie Fisher things was she was on one of Conan's last episodes when Conan was just about to take over the Tonight Show as he was leaving late night, and they were putting a character aside that they couldn't bring out because of moving to an earlier time period. They were bringing out a certain bear character that had a compulsory addictive habit. And so to keep him for future use, if they ever wanted to bring him back, they froze him in carbonite. And I just and all I remember, like one of the funniest moments on late night television, was Carrie Fisher coming out and saying, "I can't let you do this, Conan," and fighting Conan to release the bear from carbonite, and eventually meeting him on a yacht. Like she had helped orchestrate his breakout, and I just remember watching that thinking, like, that is the funniest thing I've ever seen on late night television. Was Carrie Fisher breaking a bear mascot out of carbonite.
Dear God.
All right, so we should probably move into the actual show proper here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Because it's our year in review special.
It's our year in review. And so we're starting off the show by saying that 2016 was garbage. It was awful. It was not very good. A lot of bad things happened to people. And we're all just kind of trying to move on. And hopefully in 2017 we can fight back a little bit and make things good. But that is to say, there were many good things, at least in pop culture, that 2016 brought us. Of course, we saw the release of a lot of phenomenal movies and not so phenomenal movies, and we're going to talk about that here up top. A lot of good things came out in 2016. We had another installment in Marvel Cinematic Universes with both Civil War and Doctor Strange. We saw Star Wars Rogue One get released just a few weeks ago, and it continues to dominate the box office. And we saw some not so great films get introduced. Of course, DC attempted to get into the
Everything they
expanded
did.
universe.
Literally
was not great.
everything.
So let's talk about the good and the bad here, guys. What are some of your highlights for 2016 in film?
Well, I'm gonna say, like, first and foremost, Star Trek Beyond. Star Trek
Yes.
Beyond is definitely. I mean, like, I'm gonna say Rogue One, but it's not. It's not my favorite movie this year. Star Wars Rogue One is not my favorite movie this year. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I don't have any complaints about the film. But Star Trek Beyond, I think right now is the movie that, like, has stuck with me most out of all the movies that came out this year. I mean, it's a hard thing to call because, like, Deadpool came out this year. We got, Civil War. We got although I'd be hard
I forgot about Deadpool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Deadpool was better than it had.
Biggest rated R movie of all time. It was a huge deal. But
was that better than it had any right to be?
Oh, I know.
I mean, I would, if someone would have told me, "Hey Nick, there's one of the best movies of 2016 is going to be based on a Rob Liefeld character," I would laugh in their face. And if they told me, "Hey, they're going to do an adaptation of Deadpool that you're not going to hate," then I would have also laughed in their face. So, fool me once, I guess, Fox, because that was amazing.
And it's important to look at what Deadpool did to the landscape of some of the other bigger films that came out. Of course, Suicide Squad went back to reshoots because of the success of Deadpool. DC saw that and was like, "Oh, what if we tried to do that ourselves with our characters here?" Of course, in my opinion, Suicide Squad had much different results than Deadpool did, and I think even Rogue One lightened up a little bit. I don't think necessarily directly because of Deadpool, but I think maybe they saw that maybe the movie didn't have to be as dark.
Well, it's Rogue One actually. So the big things with Rogue One is that ever notice that like 90% of the stuff that the really cool shots from the Rogue One trailer are not in the movie, including Jyn Erso's great line, "I rebel." Like, and it's because, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that they changed Jyn Erso's story dramatically for the film, where originally she was going to be this big, like, badass they were trying to recruit, and they've made her a much more reluctant hero with the reshoots. Also, like, there's also some changes, like, she was supposed to be trying to bring Saw Gerrera out of inaction in the original version of the film. Like, there's a very different version of the film.
That's crazy. I believe it. Well, like, if some of the scenes with Vader and Krennic from the trailer don't match anything with what was the dynamic in the film.
Well, there is a strong theory, and this is just a theory. There is no evidence behind this that it wouldn't have had such a final ending, because you have to remember that Felicity Jones signed a contract for option for a sequel. And I go into it with the fact that the dramatic shot of Jyn Erso on the tower in the film is there, but in the trailer, it is a different. It's the same shot of her walking out to the edge of the tower, but a TIE fighter rises up into that shot.
Right, and the next cut, she's moving very differently. It was clearly done at a different point.
And don't get me wrong, I am definitely 100%. I am 100% not complaining about the movie we got. I like that movie, but a lot of it, like, from what I have been reading and what I've been able to find out, that it really sounds like the reshoots were about trying to make Jyn Erso less arrogant.
I can probably see that. I was very happy with the film when I finally did get to see it.
I would have liked it if she was more arrogant, probably. I mean, Because it's a double standard. Guys get to be cocky assholes. We don't like women who are cocky assholes. I'm like, give me more cocky assholes who are women. But
I know Gareth Edwards wanted the ending to be what it was.
He was
shocked that Disney was as cooperative as they were.
Yeah, I think that all of them going, like the way it ended is the way it needed to end. Mm-hmm. Period. And it was, yeah.
I loved Rogue One. I agree. It's actually probably one of my favorite Star Wars movies at this point. But I do feel Star Trek Beyond was just the movie I really needed this year.
Yeah,
it was a loving it was a love letter to the original series. It was a fun original story. The villain worked, the story worked, the ending has me cheering every time I've watched it. It's everything Star Trek is supposed to be about.
It's Rogue. I love Rogue One, but Star Trek Beyond was the movie I needed this year.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts, Pher?
I'll be honest. There was a large stretch of time where I wasn't able to see movies for a while. I haven't yet to see Star Trek Beyond. I'm not going to comment on its goodness or not.
Mm.
All right, so therein leads the problem, though, because we needed to pick the best.
Well, I'll abstain my vote then, because I know you two are probably going to vote for Star Trek Beyond. So,
well, then we win either way, because it's majority rules. So,
yeah.
So
I don't. You can take all the votes you want. I'm out after this episode. Like, this is
yet another thing that will be better in 2017. No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
Yeah, I
you
hope
served that up
really
right for me.
It's really fun having episodes that are at least sort of focused.
Your camera is very unfocused, though. And of course, I had to go with Star Trek Beyond. Look how many lens flares are in first shot.
I use lots of soft lighting to let people know that I'm the cute one.
I mean, seriously, this is like straight out of 2009. All right.
Hold on, let me just.
Beyond is a really solid
God,
movie.
No, you're gonna ruin all your camera angles.
No, I didn't. I made it better.
Okay, so now you're nice and clear.
You did.
But it's less entertaining now. All right. So what are the worst? What are our worsts?
Oh man.
Batman v Superman. I don't even have to think about it. Suicide Squad has horrendously bad editing, but here's the thing. Maybe it's because, unlike almost everyone else I talked to, I didn't expect that to be good. Nothing of the promos made me think that it was going to be good. Like, as soon as we started seeing cast pictures, I just had a bad feeling about it. I saw low budget cosplay, the movie, and then the more I saw, the more I just knew. Ugh.
I had hope that Suicide Squad was going to be good. Obviously, Suicide Squad was not good. But I actually had hope that it would be good. But I also had hope that Batman vs Superman wouldn't be terrible. But Batman vs Superman was awful, and the only reason why I didn't hate Suicide Squad, I think, was because it was better than Batman vs Superman. Because even though the plot of if you give me like 20 minutes of extra footage, like of selected reshoots, I could do some reshoots and make Suicide Squad a coherent film, and with a nice big intro explaining who the Enchantress is, and like building her up as a villain. That would be helpful, instead of just she's there. But
I think sending the Suicide Squad against the Enchantress is their first terrible move. Well, because these are crappy. Captain Boomerang is a crook with a gimmick.
But,
I mean, sorry.
Just to finish making my point, Suicide Squad. See, Batman vs Superman was awful, disjointed, long. And while Batman vs Superman has the only good points are Ben Affleck was well cast, and the Wonder Woman part. That is literally like Suicide Squad. I didn't get bored. I got bored during Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, I mean,
Someone fell asleep in my theater.
At least it was like
Literally.
flashy enough to keep things, keep people alert at least, which
Right.
had that going for it, I
So
guess.
Suicide Squad would have been a contender for worst movie of the year if
Had it not
Batman
been for
Batman versus Superman. That's yeah.
Martha.
Martha.
Martha. I want to throw this out there though. My favorite part about Suicide Squad easily has to be that we go in with the premise of what if Superman went rogue? We need a group of people who could stop Superman. So let's get a drunk with boomerangs and 100-pound woman with a baseball bat. Genius.
Well,
Genius.
I will say the one thing that drove me to, I don't want to talk too much about Suicide Squad, but why is Harley Quinn being used as like a fighter? Like
Uh-huh.
she's you could use her like profiling, and there's so many, like she's a brilliant
She's a
professional.
genius.
She's a genius, but instead like hot pants and a baseball bat. Like
The frustrating thing about both of these movies is that there are animated movies with the same basic premise that DC put out that do these things better.
yeah.
Batman Assault on Arkham is an actually good Suicide Squad movie. And Harley Quinn being a psychiatrist plays into the story quite a bit. Same with as much as I hate to give Frank Miller credit, the animated version of Dark Knight Returns is so much better than Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
You can still, if you really need to see that happen, there are animated versions that.
Yeah. All right. So I think it's safe to say, it's probably safe to say that Batman versus Superman is our worst
It was
movie of
awful.
2016. That's
Awful.
easy consensus. All right. Well, moving from the big screen to the small screen. Oh, what a year of television it's been. Now, when we talk about TV here at Nerd and Tie for these things, we want to be clear that we are always talking about new series. Because if it was going to be ongoing series, I'm just going to say Supergirl every year right now. And then someone else will pick their favorite show, and then we'll just never get to anything. So when we talk about shows, we're just going to talk about best new series of 2016. And there's been a lot of great stuff this year, but I think that probably the show and it was a show that I didn't even expect to care about. And the only reason why I knew it was coming was because I watched trailers for Nerd and Tie. Is a show that hit most of us by surprise, and that is Stranger Things.
Yeah, you beat me to it, hands down.
Yeah.
Luke Cage was strong, but Stranger Things was just such a
Luke Cage was amazing.
crazy show.
But Stranger Things was Stranger Things.
It was mind blowing.
Have either of you seen the OA yet? Have you?
No, it's on my list.
Watched that yet.
It's on my list
because
I chose to hit Travelers first, so that's.
I've heard it's like on the level of Stranger Things, but I think having not seen it, I would also like to throw in my vote for Stranger Things, which,
I've heard the ending of the OA is less satisfying.
Like I can't remember being like, I've binged shows before. Like I remember watching Jessica Jones all in one sitting. Just about. I remember.
Oh God, how can you manage that? That's a hard
Howard
show
to
get
through. Howard through it. I remember, powering through Daredevil all in one sitting. But like with Stranger Things, I had never in a situation been like, oh, well, I guess I can watch one more episode, and before I know it, it's 2 a.m. and it's done, and I'm like, no, there has to be more. Like, I can't remember the last time I've done that with a TV show, so I am so excited for season 2 of Stranger Things.
It was really smart. It was phenomenally cast. Child actors who dominate. I'm all about that.
They're going to be so screwed up as adults. No,
Oh. Also, Winona Ryder again, because
Yeah.
freaking Winona Ryder. Yay. I think Stranger Things is the easy pick for best. Though I do want to give a shout out to Voltron Legendary Defender, which
Yeah.
took a really crappy toy-selling cartoon from the 80s that, yeah, I'm nostalgic for it too, but the show wasn't very good, and turned
Yeah,
it
no.
into an epic sci-fi thing.
I just
And,
finally started watching it this weekend, and I'm only about halfway through the first season. Um, and obviously the second season comes out on January 20th, I think. Um,
mhm.
but it threw me off, especially with going with Shiro going with the Japanese name from Go Line instead of Sven.
Mhm.
Because I'm just like, but he's not. But everyone else is their American name.
Takashi
And let me
Shirogane.
remind you that Sven doesn't die in the original cartoon. He goes to a hospital
You
and
went to the hospital planet.
he shows up again because they decided that the brother of the blue line pilot from the original was also Sven in the cartoon. So Sven
Which
shows
leads
up after being in the hospital.
which is great because in the footage, in the Go Lion footage, um, Takashi Shirogane's brother is visited by the ghost of Takashi Shirogane. So for Voltron, he's like, "Oh no, it's the ghost of my younger self." Actual line. Actual line.
Yeah, but
I know
so
too much about Voltron.
yeah, no, so Voltron gets an honorary mention
hmm
for sure,
But
but
Stranger Things
Stranger
for
Things
sure.
now
Stranger Things for sure.
now
My bad.
here's the real challenge. We have to come up with what's the worst new television show of 2016 that would fall into our,
Hmm.
domain here. And
Well, because I was gonna say, like, I accidentally watched one episode of Kevin Can Wait at one point this year, and that was pretty bad. Like,
I don't think that counts because it's not really a nerdy show. Um, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Shadowhunters.
see, I'd heard that it wasn't great, but that's the reason I didn't watch it.
I
I,
watched the
I
whole first season.
I've been lucky. Every TV show I've watched this year has actually been really good. Like uh, if anything, I thought of an honorable mention for another good show, but I can't think of any
Oh,
terrible
what's
ones.
the honorable mention for another good show?
It's Son of Zorn.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's really
love
good.
Son of
entertaining.
Zorn.
That's pretty
It's
solid.
It's so funny.
And the
Like,
thing is, it's solid for people that like really liked He-Man, and I think outside of that group, you're not gonna really get much. But it's nice to have those shows
yeah,
where you're like, "Ha, I get that.
But
That's funny."
but I gotta tell you, Shadowhunters is so bad.
it's
Like,
got a great title. How could something called
well,
Shadowhunters be
because they
bad?
can't call it what it is. Because it's the TV adaptation of is Mortal Instruments, which but they don't want to directly call it that because they made a movie, and this is the TV reboot that's ignoring the movie.
Yeah, I remember that for some reason.
So like they're retelling the story that they already made a movie out of with new actors. So they called it
And it's
Shadowhunters.
somehow worse.
Oh
Like,
God, yeah,
what?
no, it's so cliched and badly written. And then there's the whole thing where she makes out with the brother, and
What?
well, there's a Luke Leia thing going on with two of the characters, except they set them up as like the standard love interests throughout most of the first season, and they make out a
No.
few times, and then it's revealed near the end of the
No.
first season that their brother and sister separated at yeah, yeah, so I have to show the world Nick's expression as I describe this because this has been forming on his face. This is so,
No.
so Shadowhunters, the first season's up on Hulu right now.
Don't watch it. Don't watch
What?
it. Don't give them
What?
the numbers.
the second season just premiered today, the same day that we're recording this episode, and so that'll be up the first of.
No.
I'm gonna watch it tomorrow morning, and I hate watch this show. I hate watch this show because I just want to see how bad it can get. Like,
Yeah, I tried doing that once, Trey, and you know what happened? Valve rave. That's all I'm saying. Uh,
Christ.
Oh.
No
So
thanks.
Shadowhunters gets worst show of the
Yeah,
Yeah,
Shadowhunters.
sure. We'll go. I'm good.
I
Sure.
don't even need to see it to know that if that no, it's bad.
Yeah. No thanks.
You're done.
Wow. Dark gritty reboot. All right. So we've talked about you're talking about stuff on the big screen, small screen, and some things going internationally. But we always like to grab something from our favorite neighbors to the Far East. Of course, it's time to talk about Thing from Japan. Best
Things
thing
from
and worst thing
Japan.
from Japan. All right, so we've
I'm,
got
I'm assuming
some.
you've got some opinions, Nick.
I do, because um, my thing for this year really, I was not that impressed by the anime assortment that came out this year, with an exception for one show. I really, really liked Erased, which the Japanese title of it was "In a Town Where I Grew Up Without Me" or something to that effect.
Huh.
Which I can describe. It was a phenomenal show. I could describe it best as it kind of like a quantum leap detective show ish. It's about a guy who he's just kind of he's not really gone very far in life. He's a pizza delivery guy, isn't really happy with his job, would like to draw manga, but he's nowhere near that. But for his entire life, he's had this weird ability where he's able to jump back in time just a little bit, only in his own body. And he stopped bad things from happening. Like he sees a kid who gets run over by a truck, and he jumps back and saves the kid. And it's kind
He
of
jumps back
involuntary.
and saves the truck. No.
But like it's an involuntary thing. Well, one night he comes home and his mom was murdered, and he jumps back in time without meaning to, and he's in grade school again. And all of this relates back to he starts to figure out this relates back to a child murderer who was active when he was in grade school, and that this somehow ties back to his mom's murder. And the story is really solid. There's beautiful animation, really, really accurate and uncomfortable depictions of domestic abuse toward children. So major trigger warning there. But it's powerful. It's really well written. It was a great show. And yeah, I mean, like that was the anime that really caught my eye this season that didn't have Macross in its name. Um, but if I honestly though, like if I were to say what the best Japanese thing I saw was, honestly, it was Shin Godzilla. Sorry,
Yeah.
I mean I keep going back to it, but Shin Godzilla was just such a freaking good movie.
I was about to say Shin.
Shin
I was.
Godzilla.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry. No, Shin Godzilla. Yeah. I have nothing
It's
to
just a
add.
really,
Sorry.
really well made film. I mean Hideaki Anno has. I've given the guy crap a lot. I think everyone has. He's a really, but this is him coming back to his roots as a filmmaker. It's Godzilla going back to his roots. Shinji Higuchi made up for the Attack on Titan movies in spades with this thing. I already ranted about it enough in a previous episode, but Shin Godzilla was great, and
Yeah.
it's worth every moment of your time.
Yeah, Shin Godzilla is pretty much where I was gonna go to. Although I feel like it's necessary because to appease the raving fan people of the internet that we have to mention Yuri on Ice.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to see. I haven't
that
sat
doesn't get
down.
hit.
We have to
haven't
mention
watched
Yuri
that
on Ice.
yet.
I haven't watched it either. It's
See, but the director, I love everything she's ever touched so far. She's just really artsy and has this great eye for detail. And female directors in the anime industry are kind of few and far between. So having this woman with the Midas touch working in the industry right now just has me really excited.
Yeah.
So previously she was on Lupin the Third Woman named Fujiko Mine.
So that's why I think we need to give an honorable mention to Yuri on Ice. But
yeah,
we can't give it the award because none of us have actually watched it yet.
Sorry,
but
it looks pretty.
But it looks really good, and so we're gonna give Yuri on Ice. I think Shin Godzilla is pretty obviously gonna be our best out of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, we're gonna need your help on this one though. But what's the worst thing to come out of Japan this year?
See, and there we go again with the problem of I didn't see a lot of anime. Was really there wasn't a whole lot of stuff that was really grabbing my attention. So for lack of a better example, I'm going to give a shout out to something for being totally unremarkable. Nurse Witch Komugi-chan R, which was a bizarre, mean-spirited, failed attempt to reboot Nurse Witch Komugi, which in and of itself was a tongue-in-cheek parody of Tatsunoko's The Soul Taker. So it's a reboot of a spin-off whose primary jokes came from the fact that it was related to The Soul Taker, and hardly anyone remembers The Soul Taker, let alone Nurse Witch Komugi. And it was just some of Tatsunoko's stuff in recent years has been really fun and just loving of its past. Like Yatterman Knight was really good. Gatchaman Crowds was artsy and interesting. This was just mean-spirited and hateful toward nerd culture and previous, and even like the original version of Komugi. I can't. The only reason it's even worth mentioning is the fact that it was a bad show I saw, and the fact that it's just so weird you would try to do a follow-up of Nurse Witch Komugi in the first place.
Yeah. I'm gonna say, actually, I also want to make sure we nominate Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, and pretty much his entire desire to rearm Japan.
Yeah, it does that. Awesome.
I think it's a tie.
I think rearming Japan might be a little bit worse than trying to resurrect Nurse Witch Komugi.
But on the other hand, it is like the original OVA of Pat Labor.
Yeah, great. SV2's longest day, this time in real life.
Well.
Oh well.
Dear
yeah,
Lord.
So I think that covers thing from Japan pretty well.
Thank you, Nick, for our yearly Japan report.
All right, so Pher, take us to the world of video games. Why don't you?
A lot of really great games came out this year. A lot of phenomenal independent games also got released. Of course, there was a lot of video game news this year too. Nintendo's coming out with a new console early this upcoming 2017, the Nintendo Switch, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of stories about that. However, let's talk about what happened in 2016. There were a lot of phenomenal games that came out. Overwatch. My personal favorite, Stardew Valley, came out this year. Of course, for those who haven't played Stardew Valley is kind of like a fan version of Harvest Moon with a dungeon crawling element to it and a level up system, and it's awesome.
I didn't even hear about it till just now.
Yeah, my favorite game of 2016 was Stardew Valley. I want to give an honorable mention to Overwatch. Overwatch did a lot of really cool things this year for gaming. I think it made competitive gaming a little bit more accessible. Because let's be honest, League of Legends is kind of boring to watch, guys.
Well,
it's so boring. But watching Overwatch is fun.
I want to mention a few other contenders. Nominate a couple other things to consider. First and foremost, I think we'd be. I know it's a mobile game, but we would be amiss to not mention Pokemon Go.
Oh yeah,
Pokemon Go has been huge across
Mhm.
2016. And I mean, the fact is that while its current player base is much smaller than it used to be in America, I don't want to say overall because they've been expanding into more countries, which can change things. But I'm still playing. I'm still
Mhm.
playing every day. But the other game I want to mention is Firewatch, which came out
I
earlier this year. It's a
don't
narrative
look either.
game where you play as a it takes place I think in the 80s, where you play a National Park Service's like a fire lookout
Yeah, I
in the
saw that
Pacific
on Steam.
Northwest. It is
Oh,
incredible.
right.
The story in this game is phenomenal, as like it's all told like your character is talking over the radio with another with a person in another watchtower, and the story that unfolds like throughout, like over the course of spending a summer as like a fire lookout it is um it the game's just phenomenal. It is stylistically beautiful. The
I
story's
have heard of
engaging.
it. Yeah.
It's Firewatch, and it's been optioned for a movie, which I'm a little more worried about because I actually don't know if the story will tell as well, um, like as a film, because it's a very ambient thing. But Firewatch is incredible.
Yeah, that interactive element is what makes video game storytelling so cool.
Yeah,
I,
I mean it's
I
true that if any game could be adapted well, it is Firewatch, only because it is a very linear story.
yeah, I guess.
But
I don't know. When I look at how to adapt, I've been thinking about adapting video game movies, kind of off base, but I've been thinking about how to do it, and a part of me would almost rather try to go with something more out there concept wise, because when a game already tells a story, it seems weird to just be like, hey, let's tell that same story but without the gameplay part. It's like, oh, huh, that's kind of weird.
yeah.
uh I do want to give a shout out to, I mean, I know the franchise has been going on for a long time, but you know what, I still enjoyed the new entry. Pokemon Sun and Moon did a really nice job updating the formula a little bit and having a really, really friendly user interface, and I want to
Yeah,
give a shout out to that.
yeah, no, it was it felt like a new Pokemon game. I mean, you look at
Well,
like
technically it
Pokemon,
was. No, I'm just kidding.
it was new, but I mean, like you look at some of the other games that had come out. I mean, Pokemon Black and White, Pokemon XY, like those didn't really feel like anything new, but Pokemon Sun and Moon really took the formula, like Nick said, turned it on its head, um, brought a lot of new things to the franchise that I hope they continue with in future installments.
It's really great character designs too, just like aesthetically, and I really liked the this is totally not Hawaii atmosphere. That was fun. Yeah. Half the fun of Pokemon games is just exploring the world, and the Alola region was really just a cool place to go to and just hang out for a while.
So the problem is we have a lot of options for this one. Because
I'm gonna throw mine to Stardew Valley.
so Stardew Valley, Overwatch, Firewatch, Pokemon Go, Pokemon Sun and Moon. So obviously we're gonna give it to Super Mario Run, right? No,
What
Ah,
a disaster that was.
actually it's not a disaster. The game's supposed to be really good. It's just mobile gamers are whining about paying $10 for a game. Oh, it's a Mario game and it's only $10. Stop whining. Stop devaluing programmers' work. I'm sorry. Mobile games are underpriced, and it's ridiculous, especially when you
Mobile
think.
games are painfully underpriced.
Well, and then nobody complained. Like Super Mario, like Mario Run, it's you pay once. You pay once, $10. Pokemon
Not
Go players have
microtransactions.
play. Most Pokemon Go players at this point have spent way more than $10. I know I have.
Microtransactions. Yay.
I have. Every once in a while, I like toss $20 into that game, and then a few months later, I do it again. At this point, I've paid about the same amount of money as I would for like a Pokemon cart. but I'm okay with that because it's a video game that I'm playing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I understand that's the deal, but anyways, so I don't know how we're going to come to consensus on this one because I think
Probably
we
end
also
up being a three-way tie here.
I'm just going to say that yeah, so
Pokemon Watch. That's my vote.
over Firewatch.
It's about a Pokemon trainer fire fighter in the woods who gets into first person shooter fights with people.
All right. So for your vote is that Stardew Valley?
It is.
And Nick, what's your vote?
I really only played Pokemon Go and Pokemon Sun and Moon. That's the only new games I played this year. I spent the rest of my year playing Zelda games from the 80s and Metal Gear Solid 5. I'm sorry.
So Stardew Valley, everything Pokemon, and Firewatch are our three-way tie.
Yeah.
Now, here's the problem, guys. We now have to come up with the worst. What is the worst game from this year?
Oh, I got you. No Man's Sky.
I
No
don't want to
Man's
say
Sky.
that because it's actually like the. So I was gonna bring up No Man's Sky, but not like as a whole as the game because it's what the developer promised, but not what Sony promised. Like Sony, that's Sony's fault for overhyping the game.
I think it was such a cluster, you know what, that whole game that people were really hyped for this, and it was disappointing because I think you could argue like Cartoon Network Game Station 3 or whatever the hell it is. That's not a good game, but I think that No Man's Sky is a game where it had so much potential and there was so much that they could have done with it, and the developer pretty much just took it and hid into a hole and didn't do anything to address the
But
issues.
that's
I guess it
that,
depends
but
on
they're
what
still addressing the
you're calling
issues.
the
They've been updating the so like what everyone who I've talked to who did not listen to the hype, who like just played the game raw without having like read any of the promotional materials, most of them enjoyed the game. It's the problem is that so what happened was that yes, so there was stuff in demos that didn't end up in the final game. That is the story of the video game industry. So I you know like but what it comes down to is that the developer never really promised much more than what was there, but but Sony as the distribution channel overhyped it much more than it ever should have been. Now, I actually don't want to nominate No Man's Sky as a whole for the game, but I do think that the No Man's Sky initial PC release, not the PlayStation release, the PC release, which was broken, literally broken, and with stuttering frame rates because this is a AAA title
Mm-hmm.
that is being released on the initial computer release on high-end hardware was dropping massive frames, having all of these problems, and like that's what I don't want to nominate No Man's Sky as a whole, but the No Man's Sky initial PC release.
I like the concept of No Man's Sky as a really like if you look at it as a game that I haven't actually played it, but someone else described it to me as like an existential loneliness simulator.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
powerful because
Yeah.
you literally have no home. There's no easy way to backtrack anywhere. Every alien you run into isn't human and lets you know that they see you as an other. So it's an interesting
Yeah. Well,
loneliness
and
simulator.
I was also pretty disappointed with how Mighty Number 9 turned out.
Oh God, yeah. Actually,
oh, Mighty
hey,
Number 9.
Yeah,
how did I forget my buddy the Blue Bomber getting shafted like that?
that was like I remember when that got announced that like oh, this is gonna actually be really cool. It's a spiritual successor. It could actually be something, and all the struggles that it went through to get released and all the updates and everything we constantly got, and then to have the product that we got out of it was not good.
I think it tanked KG Inafune's credibility forever. Frankly, dude gets a bit more credit than he deserves for creating Mega Man in the first place. But yeah, that hurt. Being a Mega Man fan, you want a new Mega Man game. Well, I wanted a new Mega Man game.
Well, a lot of people want a new Mega Man game.
Yeah, it's been a very long time. Like the next game that our little blue buddy's probably going to show up in is maybe Marvel versus Capcom. And by that I mean probably X-Zero and Tronbon anyway. So yeah, I mean the last game we even saw poor Mega Man in was Super Smash Brothers. So seeing him in his element, even if it wasn't officially him, would have been cool.
Yeah.
And it was not his element.
Yeah. So actually, I want to change my vote to Mighty Number 9.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Nah.
I'm getting there too.
Yeah.
Oof.
Mighty Number 9, you sucked.
Bad memories. Just tried to wash it away, but it didn't work. Damn it.
Oh dear. So okay,
All
so
Moving
Mighty Number
on.
9 is our worst game of 2016.
Yup.
Now, Nick, you're a resident comic book expert.
I am now. So this was a really interesting year comic wise. From the non-traversy that was Captain America saying Hail Hydra to that was such a contra. To the not to the non-traversy of that, to the DC's another attempted reboot, to Archie comics being really good. This has been a weird year. Mark Waid was writing Archie.
Yeah.
Anyone else think that was insane? By the way, that's a phenomenal comic. Go read it. But it's still not my number one.
I love Mark Waid.
I laugh out loud almost every other page of that book. It's so good. It's so funny. Fiona Staples was even on the first couple issues, which I would read things if she I would look at her art if she was drawing stick figures. I love her so much. But that still isn't my number one. If I were to pick one book that really got to shine, it was DC Comics Rebirth One Shot, which was an emotional, powerful, really value-priced book that not only apologized for the New 52, but also promised a brighter future and brought us the return of Ginger Wally West without getting rid of current Wally West. So now I just have two Wallies running around, literally, which is great. I cried reading that book. Like, I was in tears for the last few pages. And I cannot recommend it enough. It's out in a really nice prestige bound copy for some reason. So go pick it up if you have been disappointed with the New 52. But I had to pick an ongoing series, Green Lanterns. Another thing that came from Rebirth. Green Lanterns is a phenomenal little book about the two lower profile lanterns. Simon Baz, who is a Muslim American who was wrongfully imprisoned in Gitmo, and the Lantern Ring saved his life. And Jessica Cruz, my current favorite Green Lantern. She is a Latina woman whose social anxiety is so bad that she hasn't left her apartment in over a year. They have been forced to team up to kind of make up for each other's shortcomings. They become friends in the process. It's a beautiful book, great art, great writing, really phenomenal characters. Like I said, Jessica Cruz has become my favorite Green Lantern in this last year, and I think that says a lot. So Green Lanterns, hands down.
So Rebirth or Green Lanterns, if you had to pick one.
If I had to pick one, I guess I have to say Rebirth number one at the end of the day, because I cried human tears for a long time.
As opposed to your inhuman tears?
Sometimes Cybermen cry too.
So I was gonna go with Rebirth. So
yeah, it's really good.
Pher, you have any thoughts?
I didn't really read any comics this year, guys. Any new ones, anyway.
So
go read Rebirth if you get the chance. It's just good. It's really good.
Yeah. So Rebirth. All right. So I think Rebirth takes it for our best comic of 2016. What's the worst, Nick? What's the worst thing you read? None of us are reading DKR3, right? I'm not.
I have not been reading The Dark Knight, The Master Race, which I'd be so tempted to nominate, but I think we gave it to that.
Yeah, we did last year.
But it's still going for some reason. Of the comics I actually read, the worst thing that I just could not bring myself to get through was I tried looking at a bunch of the Rebirth #1s, and Harley Quinn was not good. It was all over the place. Sequential art was off. It was one of those, we're doing this book because this character is popular and she's going to be in a movie. Go see the movie. Character. Yeah, like there was a lot of assumption that, unlike a lot of the other Rebirth books, it was not a #1 that was welcoming to new readers either. So, yeah,
I'm comfortable giving the worst to that.
Yeah, I'm not. That was not my cup of tea.
I'm assuming since you haven't read any comics this year that
I don't object.
All right. So that moves us on to our next major category, and that is conventions. Every year we like to give out like the award for our favorite convention that we went to this year. The criteria are as follows for best convention, and hopefully my video is not stuttering because I know I'm at like 95%. There's a reason why we're getting a lot of one shots tonight, folks, because the 3-shot eats up more CPU cycles. And those of you listening to the audio are like, what is he talking about? I'm going to give you guys a blank page for a second so my computer can cool down. All right. So the criteria for best convention is that it has to be a convention that we went to and we can't have been in charge of it.
Indeed.
So while we all probably agree that Nexpo was amazing.
Yeah, and it was.
That, it's disqualified because, because we did it.
Lame.
So I think, I guess the question is then, what do you guys think for the best convention for this year?
I had a lot of fun at Geek.kon this year.
Geek.kon was it's a shame that more people weren't at this one, because this really was one of Geek.kon. This is the most fun I've had at Geek.kon.
It was a really good Geek.kon for me too.
I've gone every year and I've had tons of fun there. Yeah, but this one was the one I had the most fun at by far.
Like there's a lot of cons I do that I have a lot of fun at. Like I always enjoy the independent show in Indianapolis, which is their spring show is now combined with HoosierCon, which is a great free gaming convention in Indianapolis. And I love those cons. Those cons are great. But if I'm gonna it's probably the most fun I had this year is at Geek.kon. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, and as far as ones that we were all at, I think Geek.kon takes the cake.
Yeah.
Hands down. Good job, Geek.kon.
So Geek.kon wins it again. They've won it before. I think no brand won last year, but Geek.kon takes it this year.
I do want to give an honorable mention for all of the issues that I had. I still feel that this DaishoCon was a really strong contender. I did have fun at it.
See, I didn't go, so I don't have a strong opinion.
Yeah, I don't either.
But yeah, Geek.kon it was a really, really, really good Geek.kon. It was the most fun I've ever had at Geek.kon.
So Geek.kon is the easy choice. Now, worst convention, we have a little bit more of an open criteria. Just the worst thing that happened in conventions this year, and usually our requirement is that it be something funny. And I'm just gonna say,
this is the yearly DashCon award that we give out.
I got the following. It's so hard to choose. So there's Wine Country Comic Con happened this year.
Yeah.
It happened twice.
Weird.
And that was an amazing clusterfuck. But let's not forget that also this year was Rewind Con.
I kind of want to give it to Rewind Con just because I don't understand it. And
what? Because it was the worst thought out idea ever?
Yeah, that.
It was poorly
Precisely
targeted,
that.
poorly marketed, and way too much money was spent?
Yeah, that. All of those things. Because it was a terrible idea. There's no feasible way you could argue that that was a good idea. I defy you. I double dog dare you to argue that that's a good idea.
I argue that it was a terrible idea, but you know. And again, a video people, I'm apologizing for cutting to the title card. I'm having some processing powers, and I figured it would be better to give you a continuing show than a than fancy video of our faces. But yeah, no, Rewind. So Rewind Con was pretty awful, from all accounts, and it's.
I don't know why they name it after a small transformer who turns into a cassette tape anyway. That's just weird.
Your joke was too subtle, Nick, and too obscure. Dear Lord, man. Anyways,
go read Lost Light. Anyway.
I mean, like, frankly, like, they moved their con. They like had all these PR issues. They had 60 guests, like many of whom are like guests who have like 4-digit guarantees, if not more.
Yeah.
Like Luke Perry.
Yeah.
And it's a set of guests that aren't targeted well towards the people who will spend inordinate amounts of money on guests. Like,
well,
everything was wrong with that plan. Everything.
I was gonna say someone must have, except no one.
Like,
have.
Say what you will about Wine Country Comic Con, but at least Uriel Brenna targeted a market and actually like picked something that normal humans spend money on.
Ouch. Ouch.
Like, Wine Country Comic Con may have been kind of a crap show, but at least like you can see how we got there. It
was still a fun story to follow.
Oh
yeah. Yeah.
But Rewind. So yeah, no, Rewind Con.
Rewind Con, you win the DashCon Memorial Least of the Year award.
You get an extra hour in the ball pit. Yeah.
God.
Oh dear God.
I made notes. Like, I've been making notes about our winners, except for video games, because that was too much to write down. But I've been making notes about, and like I just had already pre-filled in Wine Country Comic Con, and now I'm crossing it out and writing in Rewind Con.
So I guess next up we have
just our faves from the year.
General favorites.
God, I mean, this was a pretty good year for music. Of course, the late David Bowie released Black Star 3 days before passing away, which put a lot of good perspective on that album. Chance the Rapper came out with a coloring book. What else came out this year that was I'm blanking on like some of my favorite albums from this year. Beyonce's Lemonade was frickin' mind-blowingly good. A But I mean, as far as my favorite album of the year, I'm gonna have to give my favorite album to Chance the Rapper's Coloring Book. It combined hip hop and gospel in a way that I didn't know was possible. And if anything could convert me to Christianity again, it would be Chance the Rapper's Coloring Book, with just how beautiful and pure that album is.
Fair. I'm gonna say probably my favorite moment from this year was while a lot of it was a garbage fire, I did get married. It was baller.
That was an awesome wedding.
We had a lot of fun. It was the only Cardcaptor Sakura themed wedding that I've ever been to, so deal with it.
Oh, it's been dealt.
That was I guess that's my obvious one. And other things that were fun this year. Hey, Hasbro put out this new line of Transformers, the Titans Return, and I was finally able to get figures of Chrome Dome and Rewind, who, if you've read More Than Meets the Eye or its continuation, Lost Light, you would know as the canonically gay Transformers. And so that was pretty cool, not gonna lie.
I hate everything, so I have nothing favorite from the entirety of 2016.
I would say the worst part of 2016 was 2016.
I don't know. It's like my favorite thing from 2016 was watching The Force Awakens 20 more times.
Wow.
I really liked that movie, man. I still like that movie. My favorite thing about 2016 was how people keep complaining and writing comments on that one video where I complained about the overuse of the term Mary Sue on YouTube. Or the people who got because people were calling Jyn Erso a Mary Sue after the first trailer for Rogue One.
You know what my favorite thing about that is? My favorite thing about people calling Jyn Erso a Mary Sue is that she has knocked Kyle Katarn out of the Star Wars canon, who literally is the best example of a Star Wars Mary Sue I can think of. He was shoehorned into the canon. He stole the Death Star plans alone with no help and just a blaster pistol.
It's a tutorial mission.
Then, as the tutorial mission, yes. Then he beat Boba Fett, befriended Luke Skywalker, became his bestie, and a Jedi. I mean,
I forgot. So this is the thing. So the reason, but like the whole thing, like I still get people very complaints, but I'm like they were saying this, and the movie hadn't come out. Like you can't. You're really transparent. If my God. So that's my favorite thing.
Erso, flawed character replacing actual Mary Sue.
In fact,
Kyle Katarn.
In fact, just angering dude bros on the internet has been my favorite thing. Between that and Ghostbusters, and like all the, like just angering dude bros on the internet has been my favorite thing all year. Because they always come back, and that means they view the video again, which means the ad displays again, which means I make money off of them coming back to tell me how I'm still wrong on my video, and all I keep doing is... And these guys do not know Star Wars. That is the one thing that drives me nuts. All of these, like, not knowing the canon worth shit, and, like, trying to tell me, like, it's okay not to know every detail of a franchise, but if you're going to get into a fight over it, you might want to look at the wiki.
Amen.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh, boy. I think that about covers our best and worst of 2016. What a year. Oh, Bisky, what a year.
The year that was.
It sure was.
All right.
So is it time to look at the mailbag?
I think it's time to look at the mailbag.
Let me dig into the mailbag that is totally right here in front of me. Because we've got one from Sean Orange from the Famicom Dojo. What do you know?
Famicom Dojo. Oh,
and his subject is more like Michelle Yeoman, am I right?
Video games? No. Sorry.
You guys, I totally meant to write in last episode when you were talking about Star Trek Discovery to correct you on Michelle Yeoh's role in the series. She won't be the captain of the titular Discovery, but rather of the starship Shenzhou. I haven't listened to the rest of the episode yet to find out if this gets sorted out or if someone else beat me to it in the mailbag. They did not.
They did not.
So if nothing else, I hope you read this letter on the show for the punny subject line. Dang it, Sean.
So
also,
no, I do not accept the punny subject line. I'll finish reading the thing.
Also, everyone should watch 3D. Oh no, Sean.
They should, because that's the thing we're
Indeed.
doing now here at Nerd and Tie. So I don't take your pun, Sean. I don't accept your pun. You know why I don't accept your pun? Because Michelle Yeoh's playing a captain. Yeomans would usually be like an ensign. So don't derank. Do not disrespect Michelle Yeoh's character because you looked for a bad pun with her last name.
Yeah, man, she's like Jackie Chan's favorite female martial artist. It's true. Just saying.
Just
like
Super
Jackie Chan.
Saiyan.
Oh, that's not how it's actually pronounced. I hate the dub. What?
How's it pronounced, Nick?
Well, literally what they say is Saiyajin, which means that really a correct pronunciation would be Saiyan. And yet no one has said Cyan, and no one's used Cyan, and they're probably never going to use
There's
Cyan.
plenty of cyan in that show. It's like it's one of the basic colors they use in like half the backgrounds. Wop, 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 wop.
Hate everything. Anyway.
Yeah, you're the one sticking around.
Yep, I am.
All right. So that leads us to the last regular segment of the show. And that is, of course, the Vomit Hat Steve Challenge. Now, I am attempting to get ready for that, except my internet is being stupid. It's almost like I'm broadcasting a show over it or something. I'm going to go to the blank page because, again, we are maxing out the CPU cycles. So, at this part of the show, we are doing, because ironically enough, it is my camera that maxes out the computer more than anything else. So, the Vomit Hat Steve Challenge, for those of you who don't know, is part of the show where I read a part of a book, and the challenge to you, the listener or viewer, is to guess what book I am reading from. If you guess correctly, you get included in the Hall of Awesome. The benefits of the Hall of Awesome are as follows. 1, you get put on our website. 2, we read your name aloud every regular episode. That is it. That is the whole deal. That is the fun of Magic and Pants.
What more do you want?
The current members of the Hall of Awesome are as follows. Archimate Zero, Renan Senti, Shinzi McDamu, Krista Slithery D, Shimus Otaku, The Random Ramblings Man, Corfan Capito, Chris Graham, Lily Saurus, Paper Godzilla, Cavsian, Minnesota Librarians, and Sean Orange. And with that, I'm going to read you a line from our current book. I've been reading from this book for a while, and I'm going to pick another line from it. He began to dream almost immediately. If you know what book that's from, go to nerdandtie.com/contact and click on the Form Me Form and do the thingy thing and tell us. Or if you have anything else you'd like to say, if you want to know why I'm just a blank screen that doesn't do anything, why you want to know why Nick has a wonderful perspective shot in his basement. Seriously, look at this thing. If you want to know why Pher has anything, don't ask, because we won't be able to tell you, because this is his last episode. And he's gone silent. We didn't mute you. This is entirely on your end, Pher, but you are now quiet. So, at this point, while Pher stands there impotently in front of a microphone, unable to speak, and again,
I guess.
There you go.
Oh, there it goes.
I don't know if that's your mic, but we were able to hear you say that, so that works and is good enough for the rest of the episode.
Works for me.
All right, there we go. We need to wish for a fondue because
I now look more Rick Moranis-y than I ever have in my entire life right now on the screen. This is how you'll always remember me.
For you have been a a fundamental part of this team, and we will miss you going into the new year.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure being part of it.
And
we'll catch y'all on the flip side.
Do you have
I'll be
anything
around
you want
still.
to say? Any last words before you're shipped off to obscurity?
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Good send off. Would recommend.
It's been good, guys.
Buddy.
Thank you.
All right. With that, Nick, why don't you take us away?
Thank you for listening to another edition of Dirt and Tie. Please remember to follow us on Stitcher, iTunes, or whatever your
Google Play
Store
or YouTube.
Yes, the Google Play Store or YouTube. We
follow us on Twitter and Tumblr and Facebook.
And of course, remember to keep on spocking in the free world. I'm Nick Izumi.
I'm Trey Dorn.
And for one final time, I'm Pher Stirs.
It's exciting.
We're sad to say goodbye to Pher, and we're sad to say goodbye to you. Trey and I'll see you in 2 weeks, everybody.
Woo!
Happy New Year.
Couple days late.
Make 2017 good, y'all.
Try not to burn the house down. If you do burn the house down, make sure it's worth it.
Don't burn my house down.
That's where all of his stuff is.
I just fixed a leak.
Costs a lot of money to fix that leak. Stuff. And everybody everywhere said goodnight. Where's the stop button on this thing?